This is a 2023 Honda Pilot, the 4th generation 3-row family crossover from the Japanese brand. It's all new for this year and bigger than ever before. And this is not my normal driving route, not even close. I am a guest of Honda in Sedona, Arizona to drive this new car and experience it both on and off-road. So in that vein, I will give you as much information as I can, as best as I can, but it is going to be a little bit different than usual. More specifically, this is a Honda Pilot Elite, which is the top trim of the lineup. I believe it's the top of 6 trims now, above the LX, Sport, EXL, TrailSport, and Touring models. And that means I've got a lot of fanciness built into this, not least of which is a 10.2-inch fully digital instrument cluster and a head-up display. My name is Robin Warner, by the way, an experienced engineer and magazine editor, and I'm a little surprised it's actually colder in Arizona than it is in Michigan. I review all kinds of cars, from a $25,000 Ford Maverick to a $425,000 Rolls-Royce Cullinan. I'll happily jump into Honda Accords, BMW M3s, and Porsche 911 GT3s. And I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price of the 2023 Honda Pilot LX is just a little more than $37,000. I'll go ahead and put the price up on the screen so you can check that out. And prices go up from there to much, much more. All right, with all that, let me pull over and quickly show you around and inside this car in a bit more detail. Well, here it is, the 4th generation 2023 Honda Pilot. And this is a different Honda Pilot than I was driving earlier, but it is also an Elite. So let's take a close look. Looking at the front, you can see that it's got a more vertical and larger front grille, and that it's got these big gaps in it right here, all around here. Big old Honda badge right here, front camera just above that. We do have this lower grille setup right here with this nice shaping in it. Yeah, generally it's a much nicer look. I do also like this chrome piece that runs along the entire width of it and splits the signals with the headlights here. I think that's a nice touch, and you also get a little bit of chrome down here, down low. Looking at the Pilot in profile, you can get a sense of how big this thing really is. It is 200 inches long now, and yeah, you can see it. The front overhang is actually a little bit smaller than before, but the rear is definitely there. You can see it, and you've got that nice big beefy C-pillar right there, and the D-pillar is pretty big as well. So it's generally your pretty basic 2-box shape, and I think that it is a nicer looking vehicle than the 3rd generation Pilot. You get 20-inch wheels on the Honda Pilot Elite, and they, look pretty standard, and they look pretty nice, it has to be said. I like the polished metal look with the darker metal finish behind it. I think it's a good touch. And behind those wheels, those are larger brakes than before. I'll go ahead and put the dimensions up there as well. And there's a look at the front, and there's the rear. Looking at the rear of the car, it's pretty basic, pretty generic. It is loud and proud about being a Honda Pilot. You can see that right there, as well as being all-wheel drive Elite. But sadly, yes, we do run into my pet peeve. Those are very much fake exhaust tips right there and right there. The rear tips, it is dual exhaust tips, are underneath. Oh well, let's take a quick look at cargo room. Even behind the 3rd row, you get a decent amount of space, it must be said. 22 cubic feet of it, really pretty decent. Also, you've got some buttons and switches to work with, and 12-volt power right here. Plus, this is not the actual bottom of your cargo. The floor reveals another hunk of cargo space, which will be useful to partition things out a bit. And yes, there is ample space if you don't have 8 passengers to carry. Folding down the 3rd row is easy. These straps make it a one-hand job, and doing so reveals ample cargo space. I'll go ahead and put the number on the screen right there. And yes, you can do better still. And with all the seats folded, you now have more than 110 cubic feet of storage, It is quite a lot of space inside here. I am duly impressed like that. And it is a nice flat loading floor as well. All right, let's look at the inside. The third row is bigger than before, but it's still not big. You do have 3 seat belts, but I do not have interest in telling you how comfortable it is because while they are bigger, they don't look full size to me. Good news is you do get a lot of cup holders and USB ports as well. And, you know, in a pinch, you could definitely carry 3 kids here fairly comfortably. But let's take a closer look at this second row. This is a flexible second row. So it can either be a 3-row bench or 2 rows with a nice cushion in between, cup holders and a tray. And they're kind of like captain's chair style, a bit like that. Or this section can be removed altogether and you can have a pathway to the third row if you prefer that, and seating for 7. This is very similar to what the 2022 Acura MDX can do. And I actually demonstrated that in my video there, so I'll show you that right now. In the second row, the seat bottoms are a tiny bit low, so I don't have quite as much thigh support as is ideal, but it's really not bad. And I do have a solid 2 or 3 inches of legroom right there, and I do have headroom as well, and that's despite the big panoramic moonroof. I am 5 foot 11 inches tall, or 181 centimeters, and generally speaking, I am quite comfortable. It's nice to have the cup holders. I have more cup holders, I have that, and if I want, a shade as well. All right, let's check out the front. Being the Elite, this is an over $50,000 SUV, so it is more expensive, but it is also pretty darn well equipped. I do like this little trim piece right here on the door. You have the usual controls right here. You do have 2-position seat memory and more space for stuff here and here. The seats have lots of adjustment here, and you do have more controls for the tailgate. This is how you turn off traction control, and you do have adjustable tilt and telescope. That is manually operated right there. Exclusive to the Elite is a 10.2-inch fully digital instrument cluster, and it comes with a head-up display as well. You can see it lit up there. It is also very configurable. I can just turn the dial right down here on the steering wheel, and you can see that I have many options for what shows up on that left-hand side of the screen. Speedometer is on the right, and then you have other controls over there. The steering wheel itself is a nice thick rim and does have a lot of controls. This was one of my favorites right there, heated steering wheel. And over here is a 9-inch center console touchscreen with lots of features, including wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You do have dual zone climate control up here, and I didn't mention it, but back there we have a 3rd climate control zone right there. Pretty nice. You also get heated and ventilated seats, Qi wireless charging, cargo space, USB ports, general power ports, push button Prindle right here, lots and lots of drive modes. I'll show you those in just a second. Electric parking brake, couple of cup holders, and a big and deep lower center console storage right there. You also have this passenger side shelf where you can store more things. That's a very useful feature as well. Looking up, here are your controls for the panoramic moonroof. This actually opens it, and this is just the privacy panel and a mirror to look at the second and third rows and yourself if you want to. And we'll go ahead and close the privacy panel right now. Lovely. Okay, drive modes. We have lots of drive modes. You can adjust them right here. Because this is an all-wheel drive car, we have Sport, Normal, Econ, Snow, Trail, Sand, and Tow. Yes, even though it's not the TrailSport, because it's an all-wheel drive Pilot, you do have the Trail mode. You also have this Trail Watch camera. This is a multiple camera system that gives you a better idea of what's around you in places where you wouldn't necessarily be able to see out of the windshield. And if you're in reverse, you have the options for the back camera, and if you're in drive, you have the options for the forward camera. So yeah, this is an all-new, very capable, and very large 4th generation Honda Pilot. It's actually quite interesting, all the different things that Honda put into it. But hey, we've looked around it enough. Let's get back to the drive. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. This is a brand new engine in this brand new Honda Pilot, yet there are a lot of similarities to the old engine. It's gonna take a touch of explaining, but we now have 5 more horsepower than before, 285 horsepower, compared to 280 in the outgoing Honda Pilot. We have the exact same amount of torque, 262 pound-feet, and actually that torque peak comes a touch higher than before, 5,000 RPM. But this is now a dual overhead cam engine, and it is a brand new engine, so it runs very smoothly and quietly, and it is also a much cleaner engine. The single overhead cam 3.5 liter has actually been in the Honda family for quite a while, more than 20 years. So this new engine dramatically reduces emissions of the outgoing motor. Also new, a 10-speed automatic transmission that replaces the 9-speed automatic transmission in the outgoing model. It is only one additional gear, yes, but it is also a much newer transmission, and in my experience thus far, shifts very quickly and smoothly, operates quietly, and works really well. And it will help us narrow the gap between the ratios and at the same time spread ratio range just a little bit. You can get the Honda Pilot as either a front or all-wheel drive model for most trims. However, some of the trims are all-wheel drive only, and that includes the TrailSport and Elite trims. Now, TrailSport is ultimately just a trim of Pilot, but it is a very distinctive trim of Honda Pilot. This is not just a rugged look anymore. This is proper off-roading kit. Skid plate on the front end of the car, skid plate to cover the gas tank, 1-inch higher ground clearance, different suspension tune, all-terrain tires. It's got actual changes to make it a more capable off-roader. And I got a chance to drive the TrailSport as well, and I went ahead and did an entirely different review of that car. And if you're at all interested in that, go ahead and click right there and you can check that one out. Even though it is a brand new engine, much cleaner emissions, it is also a bigger Honda Pilot than it ever has been before. So fuel economy numbers are not drastically different. I'll go ahead and put the numbers on the screen so you can check that out. There is actually a little bit of variation. The TrailSport, which has different tires than the other cars, but otherwise it's basically the same fuel economy across the board. One set for front-wheel drive models, another set for all-wheel drive models. So fuel economy is important, but not nearly as much fun as accelerating. And as luck would have it, it looks like I'm in a decent spot to give acceleration a try right now. So let's do that. Okay, pulling out onto the road, quickly coming to a stop. I will give it a bit of brake torque. 1700 RPM, off we go. Yeah. Okay, pretty mild launch, but then we get moving pretty well. We have good fast shifts from that 10-speed transmission, just as I expected. And yeah, you know, that is pretty darn good hustle from this new dual overhead cam 3.5 liter V6. It is not a rocket ship, certainly. This thing weighs more than 4,500 pounds. Even the lightest Honda Pilot with front wheel drive is well over 2 tons. So I wasn't expecting to be very quick, but that is potent, stout power. You can feel that. And it's good to know that you have that level of power and you have that confidence in the power, because Honda says that this can tow up to 5,000 pounds, and you're going to want some of that power in reserve if you have heavier loads. And that's not entirely true, actually. The front-wheel drive models can tow 3,500 pounds. The all-wheel drive models can tow 5,000 pounds. However, new for 2023, you no longer need to get a separate transmission cooler to be able to tow 5,000 pounds. This is a big, mainstream, family-size SUV. This is not your backroad carver weekend car, of course, but it is also the same platform as the new 2022 MDX, and, you know, a lot of work was put into ride and handling. So yeah, I think there's a few roads up here. Let's see how this thing handles. Okay, I found a couple curvy roads to see how this brand new 2023 Honda Pilot handles. I went ahead and put it in its sport driving mode, and that kicked us down a gear right away, and we'll see how it feels. Okay, so the engine and the transmission are very responsive to being in sport mode, certainly. And considering that this is a big old hunk of metal, its body control is actually pretty decent. We do get some body roll, but it's not excessive, certainly. Yeah, steering response is really pretty good. Body control is pretty good. We do obviously have understeer, but not massive amounts considering the type of vehicle this is. And the seats do provide decent support as well. We have reasonable upper bolsters and even some lower bolsters as well to help hold us in place. You know, the Honda Pilot's never been bigger than this, but it's also never been stiffer than this. So it is fully competent to take some corners. It's sure-footed, it's stable. It's not fun, but it's genuinely not bad either. But of course, being a family SUV, much more common is going to be work, getting things done, taking kids to school, running errands, etc., etc., etc. Your exciting domestic life, right? So, how does this car ride? Honda put a lot of work into this structure. It is really good in the 2022 MDX, and it is also really, really good here. It is a much stiffer structure than before, and that allows suspensions to just work better. We've got a new multi-link independent rear suspension in back, and it's strut suspension up front, but you know, newly designed strut suspension. So we've got a real nice compromise between stable handling but a good ride. We're not quite on the interstate, but we are on a 4-lane divided highway right now, and we're going close to interstate speeds. And at these speeds, I am pleasantly surprised at how well wind noise is isolated from the cabin, and road noise is pretty low as well. We do not have that much traffic, so it's hard to get a sense of how loud other traffic would be as it goes by, but generally I think this is a really pleasant cabin to be in. Also, these are brand new design seats, and Honda put a lot of work into having different supports in all kinds of different places, and you can feel that. The seats feel very comfortable to me right now, and I have easy access to the center console touchscreen, the heated and cooled seats, the dual zone climate control. All the equipment is easy to reach and use. Also, we have tons and tons of natural light coming in from this panoramic moonroof right here. I'm quite happy with the ride in this car and the noise levels in this car. I think it would be fantastic for road trips. And fuel economy, considering everything, isn't that bad either. Don't forget, this is a 200-inch long SUV, and we're managing mid-20s for fuel economy. That's really pretty decent, you have to say. And I should also mention safety. This Honda Pilot has lots of safety equipment, 8 standard airbags and all this kind of stuff, but also a slew of driving aids called Honda Sensing. I'll go ahead and put those up on the screen right now so you can check that out. You know, lots of all the goodies if you're into that kind of thing. So what do we have in this 2023 Honda Pilot? We have a really well built, nicer, and I have to say more grown-up looking family SUV. I think that this structure feels way more solid underneath me, and I'm really impressed at the quality of the ride and the quality of the isolation in the cabin. That really does give you a sense of calming. And for a family SUV, which means you likely have a family, that is a very, very good thing. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. Doing so helps me out quite a lot. And if you are into things like this, another car that I recently drove was the also updated and pretty darn new Hyundai Palisade. That's a video you should definitely check out. And from there, I reviewed a whole bunch of other stuff. One of those will pop up on the screen next to me. I hope that might be something you're interested in, and if you do watch it, I definitely hope you like it. Okay, goodbye for now.